So I've been seeing the Martin Luther King slander, and I don't like it, man. I'll be real. I think it's weird. I think there's criticism and then there's slander. For a man in Martin Luther King who did so much, you don't have to agree with everything he did. You can criticize some of the things that he did. But when I see videos like this, I have to question what the alternative is here. Like, what are you trying to achieve?
It's more important, the fact that Martin Luther King is the man that fought for freedom, or the fact that he was cheating on his wife?
Jesus. I'm gonna give you this example. He's a great father. He's a great businessman.
What is this? Oh, what's more important? He liberated like black people globally? Or he cheated on his wife? Not, I mean, if you're weighing that up on the scales, I don't think it's really even close. I genuinely don't think there's a competition here.
Excuse my voice, I'm a little under the weather, but did y'all know that Martin Luther King wasn't a believer? Did you know that? So this reminded me of a dream that I had like in 2019, where the Lord had shown me all of history. Like, he put this book in front of me and I could see the past. And the Lord was showing me that the people that are historical figures are actually not the people we think that they are.
The Lord showed you all of history. The Lord showed you all of history, and I'm sorry to do this. When you see these types of people, and they speak about, oh, the one lady, I went to hell. Oh, I went to heaven. Oh, the Lord showed me all of history, but you never tell us about someone we don't know. You never found that coincidental that they only speak about people they know? You went to hell. Man, there's quintillion people in hell. You couldn't tell us like some new shit? The Lord showed you everything. And you talk about Martin Luther King, we already know about that shit, man. I can watch videos. I can tell me something I didn't know. It's because the Lord didn't give you shit. Nothing happened. You're full of shit.
And one of those people was Martin Luther King. I vividly remember it. And I was like, Lord, didn't he help with civil rights and all stuff like that? And God was like, you don't know him like I know him. I was there. Found out recently that he denies the Trinity. He denies the deity of Christ. He denies Immaculate Conception. He never mentions Jesus Christ in any of his speeches. And just because he was in the church doesn't mean that he was a believer of Jesus Christ. For years and years and years, people are thinking that this is a man of God and that he's in heaven somewhere. And all I know is, like, I can only go from the Bible, right? If you deny Christ, he's going to deny you in front of his Father. So I'm saying, I don't think that Martin Luther King is in heaven, period. If we're going according to the Bible, he's not a believer of Jesus Christ, and he is not with the Father.
You know who did believe in Jesus? You know who did bring up the Lord and the slave owners? Yeah.
MLK was a coon. He cheated on his wife with a white woman, brainwashed us into thinking that we will ever have equality, and he got himself killed and a whole bunch of other people killed in the process. Those were the words that I woke up to this morning. I've never been more irritated by other people's opinion. Every year for MLK Day, there's always been backlash, issues, and more stuff of his past comes out. So confused on why a lot of black people specifically are talking down on a black man who led us to some justices. You see how hard it is for us, some of my generation who were a part of the Black Lives Matter movement. So I'm just kind of confused on why sit there and call this man a coon. But let's unpack what MLK did. Last time I checked, I've never ever seen a whites only or a blacks only sign in my life. That was the result of the Civil Rights Act in 1965. The other major thing that MLK did was help get people to pass the Voting Rights Act of 1965. As a black woman, that's why I value voting, right? But we get so discouraged because we don't have the strength nor the power nor the passion to actually do what people fought for us to do. Because we sit there and complain about people who are actually doing stuff. We don't vote. We don't support each other as a black community. Like, that's what doesn't make sense to me. As soon as I see more change and more of us coming together, supporting each other, and not being each other's downfall and being a hater for real, then maybe I can listen and hear what y'all talking about and the disrespect towards MLK. I don't get it. It happens every year, but yet, what do? If you're a black person or an ally, what do? We don't do anything but sit here and complain about what someone else did in a generation that we were never a part of. We're gonna be disrespectful and discount what a man progress has done, but we are barely making any ourselves? Be for real. On his day, we do the bare minimum in our communities. Last time I checked, not one of us is sitting here starting a revolution. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to sit here and disrespect a man and try to basically discredit by clowning him the progress that he has done. That's what's wrong. And I guess I'm starting to understand how some of our generation is not respecting the good, the pros to what other people have done. Instead, if we feel like there's stuff that we could have done better, let's come together as a community. Aren't we the coons? Aren't we the ones brainwashed because we don't understand the power that we really have to do something more?
Now, let me talk from my perspective as an outsider. If it wasn't for the Civil Rights Act, I wouldn't be here in the UK. Yeah, there'll be no Africans in the UK. There'll be no Africans in America. Right? There's first generation, second generation. There'll be no Caribbeans in the UK. I'd be back home in the Caribbean right now. I don't even know what I'd be doing. There'll be no Peace World. So when I see people slandering Martin Luther King, I'm like, if you guys have been watching me for a week, you know, if I had to pick Martin Luther King or Malcolm X, who am I picking? Let's be honest. I'm picking Malcolm X, okay? But you cannot deny what Martin Luther King did. It's undeniable. It's a net positive. Even if there are things you don't agree with. And I bring up Malcolm X because I see a lot of people use Malcolm X as a stick to beat Martin Luther King with. And there's some things that we have to understand.
If Malcolm X would have got the push that Martin Luther King did, we wouldn't be where we are today. If you go watch Malcolm X's interviews from 60 plus years ago, the shit that he is talking about, we are still seeing today. That man was so ahead of his time. That's exactly why he was such a threat. Martin Luther King was becoming way more conscious towards the end of his life. And he himself even acknowledged the fact that he was chasing the wrong thing all along. There's a quote where he said something like, I realized that I've been walking my people into a burning house this whole time. The reason he said that is because he was starting to realize, damn, integration really isn't the solution. And if y'all really look at the facts, integration is the worst thing that has happened for us. Malcolm X's whole philosophy was we are better off separate. Since y'all cannot treat us like humans, since y'all cannot treat us as equals, just leave us the fuck alone. Let us branch off and do our own things. But you want to know why we can't do that? Is because this is all about power. This is all about fucking control.
So I'm just pausing it here. I agree with Malcolm X. Segregation would have been the way to go. Unfortunately, it was never going to happen. Because like she said, that's too much of a... Look, Black Americans are, or African American, whatever you guys like to be called now, are an example of what black people could be if they just had like a little bit of resources, right? If they had 30% of the resources as what white people had, African Americans. This is still with systemic racism, right? Corruption, right? All the history, and starting from a way worse a place. Look what they've done. If you segregate it and you say, okay, African Americans, we're going to leave you alone. Can't do that, right? They're going to leave you alone. We're going to give you your own polices, your own schools, your own judges, your own governors. You guys go ahead and do your own thing. What would happen is the African Americans would surpass the white people, and they can't have that. They can't have African Americans outperforming white people in their own country. So it was never gonna happen. And people need to get over that. They blame Martin Luther King for it not happening, almost, but it was never going to happen. They were never gonna push Malcolm X. And I've seen people expose some clips of Martin Luther King And again, it leads, it's like people are living in fairy tale land, man. When I see clips like this, I know people aren't living in reality.
The whole world must see that Israel must exist and has a right to exist and is one of the great outposts of democracy in the world.
Now, my first question when I saw this was, why the hell would he even care? Like, why does he care? Like, why does he even have to? It has nothing to do with black people. Like, literally, Israel has nothing to do. They control everything. That's why. Did he have to bend the knee? I'm sure he did. Just like I say to the feminists, you think women just what? They just beat the system? No. And this was before I knew, what's her name, Gloria Steinberg was a CIA operative. This is before I knew that you don't beat the system. The people at the higher ups, they wanted women to work because they saw that they were just as good as men at doing it. More money. Most women at the time didn't want to work. They didn't want equality. They pushed it. Most white people did not want black people to integrate. Martin Luther King didn't beat the system. He had to work with the system. And guess what, man? You work with the system, you might just have to come out and say some stuff. You know what I'm saying? You might have to come out and say some stuff. But it doesn't disregard any of the good things that he did. I always have to remind people this, man. And this is where you have coons who are too far gone. But you will have people in my chat, whatever the case is, and I have to remind them, America doesn't love you. Never have. Never have, never will. Unfortunate reality. So the idea that they were just gonna do what's best for black people, it was never gonna happen. You take what you can get. And they preferred Martin Luther King because, he spoke like a preacher and he was about peace and he wanted to integrate, right? He wanted white people to live just like black people to live just like white people. He wanted black people to be able to flourish just like white people. And he thought, if we came together, we can do that. And the message is it's easier for white people to take in, even though they still weren't going for it. But Malcolm X, they weren't going for that shit. They weren't going for that shit. So, again, look, Martin Luther King, he's one of the greatest men to ever exist. I'm sorry to go and say, okay, some people could disagree, but he just is. The things that he did, I mean, the impact that he's had on black people globally, we're not going to see really anyone like that in our lifetime ever again. Did he have backing? Did he have push? Yes. It's the only way he was going to be able to do what he did, though. So discrediting him, I don't agree with it at all, actually. Again, am I a Malcolm X guy? Yes. Was Malcolm X right? Yes. But he was never going to get pushed. And that's not Martin Luther King's fault. We live amongst white people, unfortunately. They get to decide. And they pick Martin Luther King. That simple.
This liquor got me in my zone. Now I'm blowing up your phone. Blowing weed, smoking the ozone. I just can't let this go. This liquor got me in my zone.